Hey guys, Static here. Today on Dungeon Guide we're going to be covering Veteran Hard Mode Tempest Island. First things first, be sure to check with your party and make sure no one needs the quest, which is started by talking with these NPCs down by the water. It's easy to run past these quest givers and to start clearing the beach here. The problem with that being the first quest objective is to clear the beach, so you would need a fresh instance, meaning resetting the dungeon, just to be able to pick up the quest again. This dungeon is filled both with melee and caster lamia. You'll notice as you engage that a lot of these lamia will start doing a war cry. This buffs the enemies, so go ahead and give them a bash as it is interruptible. If someone in your group is on the quest, be sure to kill every last lamia on this beach for your first quest objective, or your quest won't be able to progress. This first boss has a lot of ads in front of her. Luckily, you can actually delay the pull of her by clearing the ads carefully in front of her, and then she'll come later on in the fight. The first thing you'll want your tank to do is to turn her away from the rest of the group, as both of her attacks are conals. The first one being a scream, and then the second one is a heavy, which can just be blocked. She oftentimes will also reposition herself throughout the room, and then just continue these two mechanics. You'll notice a large AoE lightning storm that kind of just roams around the room, so watch out for that on this boss. He randomly chooses and stuns a party member. As you see, he gets me with one here. Other than him summoning a lightning version of himself which dies pretty quickly, this is pretty much just a tank and spank. If you're on the quest, after defeating the boss, make sure you destroy these crystals. It's part of your quest and it's easy to miss it. At the top of the hill, you'll enter the mountain. There's a couple mobs you'll clear, and then you'll come to this long hallway. There's a lot of roaming ads here, but there's only like 3 at a time. It's a good idea, as long as you have the DPS to support such a pull, to pull everything to the very end of the hallway and burn them all down at one time, as it's much quicker. After clearing all the ads around this boss, we'll get a look at her first attack. She charges and then she puts an AoE on a random party member. She also turns and throws a hidden dagger. It's a very quick attack and doesn't do a whole lot of damage. She also does heavy attacks and a spinning attack. With Stormfist comes our first introduction to Storm Atronachs. These Atronachs have AoE attacks themselves which can be bashed and interrupted. The next thing he'll do after summoning them is an AoE smash where his fist comes up out of the ground. Your tank can just back up out of that. After defeating these summoned Atronachs, be sure to start backing off, as his next attack is an AoE that will knock you up in the air. Stormfist continues this process until he gets low on HP, where he'll just start exploding lightning in every direction. Its AoE damage, its execute time, just burn him through this until he's dead. Remember, if you're on the quest, destroy this crystal. A lot of people miss this one as it's in the back of the room. After being introduced in the Stormfist fight, these Storm Atronachs will now appear throughout the rest of the dungeon. Their main mechanic is a bashable channeled attack which shoots lightning in 4 directions, so make sure you interrupt this. Much like the first boss in this dungeon, this boss has a delayed pull, meaning you can burn down most of the ads before he ever actually engages. Once you have this boss by himself, he's not that big of a deal. He just has light and heavy attacks, he has a cleave attack, and then he'll use a vampiric drain attack which your tank just needs to break free of. Once reaching the summit, this next mob past these Storm Atronachs can actually be skipped. The way you do this is by pulling the Atronachs down to you, fighting them separate to the mob, and then you can sneak past them. Hard mode is activated by reading the scroll on the left up the stairs before entering the boss area. This fight has a lot of luck involved with it, so pray to RNGesus, you're going to need all the help you can get. As you enter the boss area, make sure you bum rush her, as she gap closes to anyone that's far away from her, and it's generally a one-shot. Her main mechanic is her giant AoE. You have to get out of this or it is a one-shot. For a tank, for a DPS healer, it doesn't matter. If you get hit by that attack, you're dead. Equally important as getting out of the red is getting back into melee range. As we said before, anyone far away from her is going to get gap closed and probably killed in one shot. Some people would say you don't need a tank for this fight. While that being true, this mage's fury hits very hard, and if you're taking light attacks prior to that, it's probably going to kill you if you're a DPS or the healer. So having a tank to soak up those light attacks is really important. So you're probably thinking, big deal, get out of the red, then get back into melee range. Not that hard, right? The thing I haven't mentioned is this wind. As you see, these gusts of wind are just randomly generated around the room, and as the fight goes on, more and more and more wind is produced. The problem with this wind is it knocks you back. It staggers you. Not only does this prevent you from getting out of the red, but there are times you're trying to get back into melee range to prevent the gap close, and it just bounces you around outside of her range, and then she'll gap close, and you're dead. The best advice I can give for this fight is to always be looking behind you. Look for your escape prior to the wind getting behind you. Always be monitoring it. See where the wind is going to be by the next time she does her red AoE. Plan ahead. However, even with perfect preparation, RNG can still screw you on this fight. You can do everything right, and then 3 winds will come from all 3 directions, and you have nowhere to go, and it's a death. It's just the way this fight is. This was a no-death run, and watch what happens here to Wiko. She gets hit with 1 wind. She starts backing up, gets hit with another wind, gets hit by a 3rd wind, and gets hit by the edge of that AoE. This was a no-death run. She had less than 5% HP left, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes on this fight. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. Please smash that like and subscribe button below for future content releases. I really appreciate the support everybody's been showing me. So I want to just say thank you to each and every one of you. It really means a lot to me. See you guys later and catch you next time.